Gentleman yields back. I now go to Mr. Pfluger from Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the witnesses for being here. I'm very concerned about the regulatory environment that we have in this country as it relates to what my colleagues have been talking about, which is the ability to produce that reliable power when we need it. After the Supreme Court ruled in West Virginia versus the EPA began issuing rulemaking on May 11th, 2023, that would limit greenhouse gas emissions for fossil fuel-fired power plants, including both new and existing gas-fired plants and from existing coal-fired plants as part of the Clean Air Act. And the U.S. EIA explained that of all the utility-scale electricity last year, 39.8% was generated by natural gas, 19.5% by coal, 21.5% by renewables, unreliables, and the EPA's proposal would directly basically attack 59.3% of the electricity generation. So when Secretary Granholm was in front of this committee, I asked her the question, where's this power going to come from, and how much will it take if we do the EV plan that the administration is proposing? And she said, it will double. The electricity demand will double. So, Commissioner Danley, when you think about this, how will the EPA's Clean Power Plan 2.0 impact FERC's mission to deliver affordable and reliable energy to consumers across the country?
Anything that raises the cost of providing dispatchable power in our jurisdictional markets, the RTOs and ISOs, anything that raises the cost of those generators is going to drive them into early retirement, as long as those markets have their prices skewed by subsidies and do not compensate the pre-existing generation to keep them economically viable.
Has anybody done the math on this? If we do this EV plan by 2032 or whatever the latest year is?
I have every confidence that somebody's done the math. FERC's role, of course, is simply to ensure that the rates for power and interstate commerce are just and reasonable. We can establish compensation mechanisms, but until we actually insulate our markets from the effects of subsidies and we compensate correctly to ensure solvency, we're going to see more premature retirements and we're going to see the reliability of the system jeopardized. Yeah,
it's a national security issue. We have the resources here, and we need to use these. Commissioner Phillips, Chairman Phillips, I want to switch to some issues with our LNG export terminals. And I want to ask you, are you aware of the additional recommendations that FERC staff have placed and are placing on the LNG export facilities?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, are you aware of the additional recommendations that FERC and the staff has placed on LNG export facilities?
We've actually, since I've taken over in January, I've instructed staff to actually streamline our processes regarding LNG. Based upon recommendations from our staff, we've chosen to institute EAs as opposed to EISs where appropriate. This is not a categorical decision, but this is done on a case-by-case basis.
I'd like to work with you on this because currently there's 7 LNG export terminals in the lower 48 that went through a multi-year review by FERC before receiving their authorizations to construct and operate. And it's my understanding that while these facilities have been in operation, that FERC staff over the past several years have recommended changes and modifications to the facilities even after they've been reviewed and fully approved. That's my concern right now. So if you're saying that you've streamlined this process, we need these facilities to be up and running in order to get that product to market. And we're having complaints that that's actually not happening.
I understand your frustration. I'd love to work with your staff to get it.
We need to follow up on that. Lastly, in February of 22, FERC issued 2 draft policy statements that I believe overstepped the agency's permitting authority. Certification of new interstate natural gas facilities and consideration of greenhouse gas emissions in natural gas infrastructure project reviews. My question, Chairman Phillips, is that I know that these were issued under your predecessor, Chairman Glick, but these policies hang over industry's head and are a deterrent to investment in reliable baseload energy production. Can you provide me an update as to the status of these policy statements?
Absolutely. They're now draft policy statements. We're using the 1999 gas policy statement right now to move forward projects. It's working. I think there are opportunities for us to improve the legal durability of our decisions. We're one of the most litigated agencies in all of government. So where we can improve what we do, I think we should try to do that. I'm working with my colleagues. We continue to negotiate. I want a bipartisan policy statement to come out, something that can live beyond this composition of the commission, and it can give expectations to utilities as well as communities and every stakeholder that we have in our process.
Chairman, my time has expired. We would love to have bipartisanship on this issue, but we have to get to the point where we can build things in this country and we can have sustainable, reliable, affordable energy. And we need your help doing it instead of stopping projects that are on their way to being built. Chairman, I yield back.